Herod, when he builds this place, he doesn't just want it to be a major port for economic benefit. This is going to be his administrative capital. Right? He doesn't want to have the administrative capital in Jerusalem. People of Jerusalem don't really like Herod very much. Right? He's a stooge of the Romans. They'll get into it later, right? But the Jews do not like Herod. Right? But the Greeks and the Romans do, right? This is going to be a Greek and Roman city, so let's have the administrative here, right? It's easy correspondence between him and Rome. If this is going to be his capital, right, what does he need to build for himself? Where's he going to live? He's going to live in a palace. This is the palace of King Herod, guys. Right here. This is the remains of the palace of Herod. Now, when Herod builds Caesarea at first, there's no aqueducts. Aqueducts come after Herod's death. Right, but in the meantime, so what are they going to use for drinking water? The same thing that everybody's done throughout history in the land of Israel is collect the rainwater. Right, we have a rainy season on an average year, roughly between March and February, about 4 months, with a little bit of showers before and after. Okay, but in that 4-month period, right, we should get torrential rains, huge amounts of rain. You collect as much rainwater as possible to get you through the 8 months of no rain, right? And you collect it in a cistern. Right, and this is what this structure is I'm standing on. This is an old cistern. Now, when they built the aqueducts, they don't need the cistern anymore. There's so much water that you really don't need to fill it with water anymore. Right, but we have a nice hole in the ground. Right, what can we use it for? Maybe a dungeon. Right over here in this building, right, where the guards, right, sort of the house guards of Herod and therefore also where he's going to imprison people, where they're going to be staying. Now we have a dungeon here. Right now, when they excavated this, they found sort of scribbled into the wall a Hebrew name 3 times. This Hebrew name, it says Shaul, Shaul, Shaul. Shaul is the Hebrew name of Saul, right? Right, and Saul, right, will become known as Paul of Taurus, and this is where he was imprisoned. Now, not necessarily saying that this is Paul's writing. In fact, it's probably really not. But most likely what this is, right, is a Christian, right, who was during the time of Christian persecution for 300 years, right, they were brought to places like Caesarea, right, to be killed, either to be, fed to the lions in the gladiatorial arenas, right, to be hung, or some other horrible way the Romans come up with killing people, right, and so he wants to reach back, right, into Christian history, maybe one of an early church father who was in the exact same position he was in. Right, and so he scrolls, right, his name to sort of to give strength to himself, right, for his time of need. In addition to the name Shaul, he scribbles a cross 33 times. And the most common assumption for why 33 is the years of the life of Jesus. Right, now over here, right, we have a replica of one of the coolest things they found here in Caesarea. Maybe, that's Caesarea. To say the whole of Israel, I don't know. But it's definitely top 10 all of Israel, let's say, right? This is the replica. The original is in the Israel Museum, right? This is archaeological gold, by the way, right? It's always nice to find gold when you're digging because it makes nice headlines, shiny, gets in the news, right? But real archaeological gold is writing, right? If the archaeologists can find writing, it's wonderful because you know the language of the people, the culture, languages change. So you can also date sometimes. You can also understand that if you get a name, right? You have all this information you can glisten, right, from writings. They found this in secondary use being face down in the theater. And what this says is that this was a sort of a memorial, a plaque for a memorial built to the Emperor Tiberius by the Roman prefect Pontius Pilate, right, or who we all know as Pontius Pilate. Right, now this actually gives us a really, really interesting psychological window into the mind of Pontius Pilate. Right, because this is the only time that we know of, that I'm aware of, right, that a Roman citizen builds a memorial to a living emperor. Never happened before. Herod does it, but he's not a Roman citizen, right? He's a Jew, he's a Judean. Right, so how does this have a psychological window? We also have to read the readings of Josephus, a man named Josephus. I'm going to mention this guy a lot, by the way. Josephus Flavius. He's a Jewish historian, right? During the time of the Great Revolt, he was a general in charge of the North who falls into Roman hands. He becomes a VIP POW. He follows the Roman camp around. He will be sort of adopted by the Roman emperor. right? That's why his last name is Flavius. This is the Roman emperor's names. And he will record everything, right, later on, right, back in Rome. And it's known as the Jewish War and Jewish Antiquities. Really amazing books. He talks about how cruel Pontius Pilate was. We also have another source, Philo of Alexandria, 1st century BC Jew, right, who writes about Pontius Pilate, and there were delegations sent to Rome, right, complaining about the cruelty of Pontius Pilate, not just by the Jews, by the way, but by Roman soldiers as well, right? And in fact, he is so cruel, even by Roman standards, that he's actually demoted. He's demoted from his job, and he's sent into Roman Siberia, right? Roman Siberia, by the way, is what we call France today, right? Wasn't such a nice place back then, right? No Eiffel Towers and baguettes and wine around. So how does this have a psychological window? Right, because this guy is a very cruel person. Very cruel person. Right, and cruel people like bullies, right, they're insecure. Right, it's one reason why they bully. Right, there are problems back at homes, they're insecure with who they are or their place, and so they just beat up on people. This guy, right, he's very cruel, he's insecure. How do I know he's insecure? Because he builds a memorial to the emperor. Nobody's done that before. Right, look how loyal I am to you. I love you so much. I'm building you a memorial. Nobody's done this before, right? I'm really good at, I love you. You should keep me in my job, right? In the meantime, I'm going to be cruel and mean because I really don't know if I'm secure in my job, right? And then eventually, in the end, right, he goes to Gaul, right? Roman Siberia. Here we can see the lavish lifestyle that King Herod afforded himself, right? It's not enough that King Herod has beachfront property. All he has to do is go down a few steps and he can go swimming in the Mediterranean, right? Herod wants to have a freshwater pool in his palace. And this is what this large rectangular outline is in the rock, right? This is a freshwater pool. You see the mosaic, right? That's original, by the way. On the closest to us is original. The reconstructed with the cement is on the right-hand side, right? This would have been his triclinium, right? At 3 sofas. A klein is couch in Roman or Latin. Tri obviously is 3, so triclinium, right? You could just imagine Herod sort of, living by the words of my favorite American philosopher, Mel Brooks.
It's good to be the king.
He knew how to live by that lifestyle, right? You can just imagine him just reclining on his sofa, drinking wine, having a slave with a palm branch, right? On a hot summer day, not like today, right? Maybe going and dipping himself in the pool, coming back out, relaxing, enjoying the nice breeze of the ocean. All right, so anybody want to take a guess what I'm standing on? Yes, I'm absolutely standing on a rock. 100% correct. What was the purpose of the rocks, right, in this formation? No? Well, here, I'll give you a hint. I just need my newspaper. Right, not a throne. We call it a porcelain throne today, right? But this is a toilet, right? This is a Roman era toilet, right? You probably would have had water coming down this way, flowing down, taking to the refuse, or likewise also it could be a pit, right? Going down. Sometimes they would throw perfumes down it, right, to sort of help with the smell. Right, but there are no stalls in between you, so you're having a conversation maybe with the guy next to you, right? And just like in today's basketball, football, baseball stadiums, you're going to have the bathrooms next to the seats, right, where the people, so they can, in between races, in between innings, whatever, come, right, do their duty, and then come back to the seats, right? You might have a conversation with the guy next to you. This is the entrance to the Hippodrome, right, where the horse races, the chariot races are, right? So you're like, hey, I got some inside dope on race number 3, put your money on Hot to Trot. I guarantee you he's going to win the race, right? These kinds of things, right? Then you use a stick and a sponge, right, to wipe yourself, and then head back into the Hippodrome. Let's head this way. So this is the Hippodrome, right? Another Roman institution, right? Another form of entertaining the masses. You'd have the starting line, the starting gates over there on the other side, right, of the field. You need to do 7 circles around the Hippodrome. Whoever crosses the finish line, which is over there, where we see that sort of that wooden balcony. That's, by the way, is where the king or the prefect or the governor would have sat. That's like the VIP section, right? So whoever crosses that line first wins, right? But anybody watch NASCAR? No. Why do people like to watch NASCAR?
It's the same thing over and over again.
Same thing over and over again. That's one answer. Another answer. What else do they like to watch in NASCAR?
Crashes.
The crashes, right? They really, because watching something go in a circle, that's boring after a while, right? But you need to, every now and then, you need to, have a nice, car wreck, right? Some action, some fire maybe, or something like this. So same thing with Rome's, right? But again, right, we need more than just bruises. We need somebody to die, otherwise it's a wasted day, right? And so you'd have sometimes like carcasses of slaves, dead slaves from like maybe a gladiatorial game or animals killed during the games, right? Put along the curve, and this is a very tight turn, right? You're trying to go fast, right? Your chariot might flip over. The guy behind you doesn't want to race you again or doesn't like you because you keep beating him all the time. He might like run you over or find a way, have his horses trample you, kill you, right? Everybody screams, yay, because we like death, right? Now, Herod, he has games here in Josephus says he has games, like Olympic-style games here in Caesarea. But Herod has a problem because his empire is on the far edge of the Roman Empire, right? Doesn't get any farther east, right? For like 100 plus years will it cross the Jordan River and conquer what is today Jordan, right? And people, right, traveling is very dangerous. And the only person that walks away from the games with any money, right, is the winner, right? So Herod needs to find a way to entice, right, athletes to come. Because if you know that Usain Bolt is coming to Caesarea to run on the 100-meter dash, you're not going to risk your life, right, traveling all these long distances just to lose to Usain Bolt. You're not going to win any money, so you're out all the money you spent getting here and going back. So forget about it. I'm not going to go. Right, so Herod needs to find a way around this problem, and he has an ingenious idea, something that we are still using today. He comes up with the idea of second and third place, right? Because if you know that Usain Bolt's coming, it's like, I can't beat him, right? But maybe, I can beat you, I can beat you. I don't know if I can beat you, right? But I'll get third, right? Get a little bit of money, get my name out there. I'll put up, so I'll travel, I'll come to the games. Right now you have the best athletes coming to the games. What else do you have coming to the games? Spectators, thank you very much. So yeah, spectators coming, right? Spending money in the hotels, right? Airbnbs, buying the souvenirs for their grandkids back at home, right? More money into the economy here. So he does an amazing job, and he does such a good job here in the games that he is actually put in charge of the real Olympic Games that takes place every 4 years at Mount Olympus in Greece, right? And he implements what he started here, the second and third place at the Olympics, which is why we still have it today. So this comes from King Herod. Right now, in the book, in Josephus' book, as well as Acts, Josephus talks about how King Agrippas comes to the stadium in Caesarea. Agrippas, right, he's the grandson of King Herod. Right now, the Jews love Agrippas. They love him, right? Not like his grandfather, hated his grandfather, but Agrippas they love, right? And there are reasons for this, right? But they love him so much that when he comes, and Josephus and the book of Acts pretty much tell the exact same story. It's very, very, very similar. It's very small differences. But he comes into the stadium of Caesarea, and the crowd, seeing Agrippas, loving him, right? They start, cheering him, cheering his name, and saying that he is like divine, right? That he has like godlike powers or something, something along these lines, right? He's godlike. Now Agrippas doesn't do what Peter does to Cornelius, right? He says, stand for, because Cornelius, bends and kneels in front of Peter, and he says, stand for I am but a man. Agrippas doesn't do this. He says, I'm not God, right? Or I'm not godlike. Stop doing this, right? But he doesn't encourage it, right? But he doesn't stop it, right? And because of his arrogance, right? Josephus and the book of Acts tells us that he gets worms, right, in his stomach, and he keels over and he dies, right in the stadium, right? So that would have taken place right over there, most likely, right? Because this is where the king, right, is going to sit to entertain the games. Now, if you're looking at the stadium, right, you might have noticed that if this is a horse race or chariot race, the chariot's not going to go very far because as soon as you turn this curb, you run into a wall. Right, you guys see that wall? Right? Not a very long race. That gets built later. At a later point, the later Roman period, so like 3rd century, something like this, they built another hippodrome, right, on the outskirts of, not necessarily outskirts, but another part of the city. Right, and they don't need 2 hippodromes, so they convert this hippodrome into a gladiatorial arena, right? And that's what the wall is for, right? Now, an arena, by the way, it's called an arena because Latin, right? Arena means sand in Latin, right? So you're always going to have sand to soak up all the blood, right, that's being spilt on the arena floor. And this, by the way, is a time period of Christian persecution, right? This is a time of serious Christian persecution in the 3rd century by the Emperor Diocletian, right, and other people coming before and after, right? So you would have Christians, right, taken and fed to the lions here, right, or maybe killed in the gladiatorial games against real strong gladiators who knows what they're doing. We're going to now walk the length of the Hippodrome, right, and go to the port.